interesting, not because it's fun, but interesting because it's rather surprising. Let's start with the Punch first of all. Let's take care of all of the political stories so that we can focus on other things. I'm starting with the Punch newspaper, and the top story, as reported on the front page of the Punch: New Year message, APC tackles obedient as Obi alleges threat to life. Now, the ruling All Progressives Congress and supporters of the Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, engaged themselves in a war of words on Monday over an alleged threat to the life of the former Anambra State governor. The hostility was a fallout of Sunday's interview on Arise Television, where the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Felix Morka, claimed that the former Anambra governor had crossed the line in his recent criticism of President Bola Tinubu's administration. The emotional Morka claimed that Obi was desperately seeking to incite Nigerians into bringing down the current government. I would like to read what Felix Morka said verbatim so we can understand the context in which this particular threat is, or this alleged threat is coming from. Now, Felix Morka says, and I'm quoting, "Now that he did not win, he's sulking rather than to get a perspective or to figure out why he lost so he can do better in the future. He thinks he can bring down the government by simply being maliciously deceptive. That is wrong. I am not somebody to go on an offensive in that manner, but Mr. Peter Obi has crossed the line so many times, and I think that this is the point he has to come to. Whatever he gets, he gets." And reacting in an exclusive interview with The Punch, the national coordinator of the Obedient Movement, Yunus Atanko, warned that the APC is intimidating Obi, his family members, and his close associates, insisting that such a threat should not be allowed to go on addressed. Now, he said, I'm talking about the chieftain of the Labour Party now, he says in his response to Felix Morka, that is a threat. If they make the move to arrest Obi, it will boomerang on their government in a democratic setting. Obi did not in any way impugn anybody's integrity, nor did he cross any lines. We're not making any false allegations. But if they threaten anybody with some level of impunity, believe me, the Nigerian people will react negatively to them. They must learn to accept it. If they have a counter allegation to the issues we are raising, they should be provided with facts. Obi only spoke to the issue that concerns every Nigerian, and he has a right to do so. So this simply means that what he has been accusing them of, gagging, arresting, and maiming people to the level of intimidation and impunity, is what they are planning to administer on Nigerians starting from this January, because people have spoken against bad governance. End quote. Fuad, this is a conversation that started when Felix Morka, in an interview, I did try to find the audio, but because of our time, I'll get it. Maybe it will be used on the Situation Room. Felix Morka was on an interview, and he says that Peter Obi's New Year message that mostly constituted him calling out the government on their inadequacies is becoming too much, and whatever Peter Obi gets, he gets. Those were his words. But this has been interpreted as a threat, because we see the Labour Party chieftain who's saying that this is a threat, and if there's any move whatsoever ever to arrest Peter Obi, Nigerians will react. But many people are saying that that statement is not enough to be considered as a threat, because if you remember, Fuad, when Peter Obi was speaking, he mentioned losing friends, his business suffering, people not wanting to relate to him, amongst other things, and you had said that you would have preferred if he put forward specific instances of these inconveniences that he's claiming to have. Fuad, do you believe the statement of Felix Morka is enough to be considered a threat? And do you think that the Labour Party camp is maybe escalating the situation?
Well, Sage, thank you for reminding me that I said that, look, I was hoping for Mr. Peter Obi to come up with something more substantial to buttress his allegations against the APC of threatening him, threatening his businesses, intimidating his friends and associates because of his opposition politics. And now there's something to now work with. Sage, there's really something to work with. And I must tell you that the statements of Mr. Morka are so unfortunate, are irresponsible in the democracy, and I think it's very important that we tell these guys that, look, they cannot, because of their own selfish interest and personal interest, set the country on fire. Because again, when you tell Mr. Peter Obi, for example, oh, that you are becoming this and that, you are sulking because you lost an election, to the point where you are now telling the man that you cross the red line, and whatever you get, you get. Sage, that is a threat.
Mm.
And you know the danger of things like that, whether we like it or not, Sage. And I don't know why people at Mr. Mokas' level cannot understand some of these simple things. There are people who can lash on that, Sage, who are not necessarily of the APC, to now cause trouble. So just imagine something happens to Mr. Peter Obi today. Where would all the fingers point to? Mm. When you've made a statement like this, that you're already becoming, you've lost an election, you're just already be critical, now you have crossed the red line, whatever you get, you get. And then somebody somewhere who is just basically an anarchist lashes on that, and then God forbid something happens to Mr. Obi. Are we not trying to cause trouble in the country? It's very avoidable trouble. If you understand what I'm saying. And I'm surprised that the president is not reining in some of these guys. Because whether we like it or not, Mr. President was in the opposition before, and if you are talking, look, we play the sound bite, Sage,
yes,
of every keeps playing the sound bite of Mr. President in 2012, 2013, before the APC took over government. And look at the level of criticism of the government of that time. I'm talking about the Jonathan government.
yes.
What name did they not call Jonathan? Sage, is there any name, unprintable name in the world that they did not call Jonathan? For being clueless, to not know what he's doing, so useless. It was almost like a daily barrage of insults and criticism of Jonathan government. And the same set of people that rode on every criticism of the ruling government at that time to becoming the ruling party now are so intolerant of an opposition leader merely doing his job in a political setting, a democratic setting, to say, look, these are the things you are doing that is not right. And the new year message of Mr. Peter Obi said, we don't review it. What were the things he said that has become so problematic to the point where a chieftain of the APC will go on TV and say that, look, you have now crossed the red line, whatever you get, that you get. I tell you that we overrate these people. And the reason why I tell you we overrate it, look, some of them are just mere political jobbers. No reckoning. I know what I'm saying. And that's why they can't even comport themselves. What does it take, really, as a ruling party? A political opposition figure gives a new year message and calls you out on specific issues. One would expect that you should have been at least matured enough to say, look, these are the issues you raised. And these are the things you have been doing to address the issues you have raised. Would advise you that, look, if there are more information you need to get on what the government is doing, will be available for maybe a debate, for the kind of... These are the things you get in crimes where you see mature politically. Say it. But the things we are saying, and look, we are just in 2015, but we have started this way. Just imagine 2016, 2026, 2027, sorry. This is 2025. And it's already getting this hot. So I think I would appeal to Mr. President to please, as a matter of national emergency, call his people to order. The problem is from their own side. Because they are so intolerant of this thing. Sage.
Yes.
And then it also said that Mr. Peter Obi should be prepared for things like this. And I'm not blaming him for speaking up. I'm not blaming him. Because again, somebody goes on TV to tell you that, look, at this thing, whatever you get, you get. That's clear threat to life. Or whatever you call it, that is a threat. And I think that Mr. Peter Obi should be prepared for things like this.
Well,
although very unfortunate, really.
Yeah, so Ford, I would like to read some the response of Peter Obi, at least a part of his response. And this is me reading in parts. We are increasingly transforming into an authoritarian and a repressive regime where freedom of expression is being systematically suppressed. May God help us create a better and freer society for the sake of our children. However, the National Publicity Director of APC, Bala Ibrahim, expressed disappointment over the manner that Obi supporters and loyalists have gone about the issue. He says, and I'm quoting as well, they are taking politics to a different level. By now, having come this far, we should be playing politics without bitterness. They shouldn't be playing this kind of politics that will reduce us from human beings to lower animals. There is nothing threatening, insulting, or harmful in what my boss Felix Moka has said. There's nothing, depending on how you look at it. Even if you turn the content upside down, sideways, either way you look at it, there is nothing to warrant this kind of social media bombardment and threats that is sent the direction of the National Publicity Secretary. The obedient have to revisit their conscience and understand the main intention of opposition in politics is not supposed to be a show of insult and threat. Now, we should be playing politics of maturity. I expect someone like Peter Obi, who was a governor for 2 terms and who has been on the political scene for a long time, to caution his supporters against using threats and language that are capable of derailing the meaning of democracy. That's what Bala Ibrahim said, and I'm quite surprised because forgive me for name dropping, but there is a Bayo Ononuga in that cabinet that is not exactly known for decorum when addressing issues. In fact, he's you
hear what he has said. When you tell that, I didn't give to him. I know, say it. Again, you just have to say the way it is. I'd expected that our democracy had grown to the point where we can have constructive, engaging conversations, see some level of decorum on both sides, on the ruling party, on the opposition side. And I'm saying that, if you look at the antecedent of the ruling party now, where they came from before 2015, you will understand that, it should be a thing of surprise that they cannot now tolerate what they did in the past. In fact, the thing is that, we are even saying now that the opposition is now even more disorganized than when the APC came in 2015. This is not an opposition that has been able to really hold the APC down, hold them to account when it comes to governance. I'm telling you, you need to go and see what the Jonathan government faced in the hands of the ACA before the people they got the whole idea to themselves. That was when the change mantra came, you remember. So they had gotten to the point where the Jonathan government has 0 ratings. And so everyone just wanted to counter whatever the opposition is bringing. The sad part of it all is that, that some of our colleagues too, some of our colleagues who were very ferocious, who are very attacking, critical of the Jonathan government. I'm telling you, some of them we know, some of them senior colleagues, they say you are the enemy of the country. They say you don't love Nigeria. And I'm like, stand the job. It is what it is. So, should we also
read the first line and I see that's what you're doing, I just ignore it. I don't have the energy.
Some of our listeners don't know. The kinds of messages you get from, I don't know, whoever.
I know his name. I know his name very, very well. But let's move on.
Different messages that keep dropping, but we just have to do our jobs.
Right.
And to be honest, for doing our job. So again, we just appeal that the ruling party shows some level of maturity, some level of restraint, and should be more accepting of criticism and allow the opposition politicians to do their job. Because in itself, the ingredients of a viable democracy, one thing they said that was good about the Jonathan government, because again, in this story now, you keep seeing that they refer to the obedience. Yes, we know that, support. Sorry?
They did go on X.
We'll come for it. How is it also different from the obedience he's criticizing now? On what Mr. Peter Obi said, I don't even bother myself with the obedience. I was hoping to see Moka tell me specifically what in Mr. Obi's New Year message that was inciting and have become problematic to the point where he has now crossed the red line, and whatever he gets. He didn't say anything. He wanted to be said. And now they've now lumped it up with all the obedience attempt in all the social media banter. I think our politicians should get matured.
The woman who threatened Sheyi Tinubu has been granted 10 million naira bail. There was a video that went viral a few months ago of a woman who was wishing death on the son of the president, and also the IG of police. She was arrested. She's currently not John bail. She's not a flight risk, and so the case has been adjourned circumspect in the things that we say and in the manner in which we say these things. Her statement in that video was rather disturbing, to be honest, because I saw that bill. We'll see what the judges, one that I believe will take a lot of our time, but it is necessary. The Punch still tells us retirement. Top generals get $20,000 medical allowance. Bulletproof SUVs. Others Now, President Bola Tinubu has approved $20,000 foreign medical treatment, bulletproof SUVs, cooks, among other benefits as a retirement package for service chiefs and general have faltered. So you would allow me to skip to the latest benefit for CDS and 4 years. 1 POJO, there would be 5 domestic aides, 2 service cooks, 2 stewards and 1 civilian gardener, a warrant officer or equivalent, and a standard guard consisting of 9 soldiers. Now, 3 service drivers, 1 service orderly, escorts to be provided by appropriate military unit formation as the need arises. Retention of personal firearms. On his demise, the personal firearms shall be retrieved by the relevant service, and free medical cover in Nigeria and abroad. For other senior officers, such as lieutenant generals and equivalents, they are entitled to 2 Toyota Hilux vehicles or 1 Toyota Land Cruiser, along with $20,000 annual medical treatment, 2 cooks, 2 stewards, 1 Toyota Land Cruiser, an equivalent Jeep of the same value, 2 cooks, 2 stewards, 4 residential guards, 1 service orderly, 2 service drivers, and also free medicals in Nigeria and abroad to the tune of $20,000 per year. And I mean, I could go on and on. To be honest, let me relax. Okay. So, Fuad, in all of this, we have the NMA, the president of the Medical Association, Professor Bala Audu, who's saying that yes, retirement benefits even really. What exactly have you done for us that were benefits abroad? Why are you taking them abroad? Do you not have confidence in the medical market here in Nigeria? If you do not trust us enough to put your health in our sector in this place, we should be the largest patronizers of our market. Why are you expending that amount of money, $20,000 for medical aid outside the country? This is the major concern, and then there are other concerns that's forward.
Well, see, this is a major conversation for me this morning. I've had to. If you cannot afford to pay for electricity, switch it off. Go and cut your coat according to your size. This is the time to manage. There's no money. I was going to convert the $20,000 into naira, and it's going to be annually. See, right?
Yes.
And that's about 39 million naira now.
Yeah. The vehicles will be
changed just for medical allowance.
The vehicles will be changed every 4 years.
4 years. How many vehicles?
4.
Lost count. No, 4. To the point where we cannot even trust our own medical facilities in Nigeria, we have to domicile their medical benefits abroad. And that's why you can see that they even put the money in dollars and do something else. Again, I'm not questioning whether the service chief or somebody who decides to lead that the optics. What does the message give to the ordinary things that talk? We need one why the enemy is asking questions. Why can't you even trust our own medical sector to the point where you also have to begin to think of medicals abroad? But I go and check some of the retirement benefits. I don't even know what the retirement benefits of the president and the vice president is now. That of the Senate president and the different strikes daily, who struggles daily to make ends meet. What does this story tell us about? And then somebody will one day will come to
conversation, so we talk about it. I'm not giving an opinion. I'm edging towards. Is it the quantity of the benefits that is the problem?
Look, whether we like it or not, the timing is bad.
Okay.
There are also questions around equitable distribution of wealth. There's also the issue there without any star who are on the theater of fire,
they collect pension,
who are daily kids that would have helped them out. That some soldiers are still being paid about 50,000 as salary in the bush of maybe Maiduguri, facing the threats of Boko Haram, or you are someone in Sokoto facing the threat of Lakurawa. Every day to deep into that. But again, we have to be able to create a balance.
Well, I'll check page 2 of the Punch newspaper so you can really read the story and have the essence of the story captured and understand what is going on here. Is on page 2. And speaking of approval, the National Assembly is going to begin the 2025 budget defense today, although when they resume in January, I believe 14 or 16, they will go on a full scrutinization of the budget. Amongst other things, the tax reform is is roughly 49.74 trillion naira. So the MDAs would have to come and defend the amount of money that they are requesting from page 7 for that story. This is still trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. We're looking at the Punch newspaper and we're looking at stories as reported on the front page of our daily. We have this story here: Northwest bandits are fleeing to Oyo. Makinde cries out on Monday has raised the alarm that bandits are fleeing military onslaughts in the northwest and are coming down to Oyo for refuge. Speaking at the 2025 annual interfaith service for workers held at the Secretariat, he says the year 2024 was challenging, particularly in terms of safety and security. We had incidents of fire outbreak operations in the northwest, including aerial bombardment of bandit hideout, have forced many criminals to seek refuge in other states, including Oyo State. And for that takes us back to the conversation around it's not happening here, so it is not my business. Remember when the center was very concerned about everything going on in Niger, for example, and we had a lot of people actually call in and say, why are you so concerned about what's happening to you, especially with the porosity of our borders? And now a problem in the northwest is now seeping slowly even into the south, and these bandits, according to the governor, are now seeking refuge in other states. And knowing the psychology of these bandits, soon enough they might decide to begin operation in these states that they have sought a refuge in. Fuad, what are the consequences and what kind of measures should we put in place to make sure that we deter the migration of these bandits in a way to avoid the military?
Well, I think we just have to. It's just unfortunate that again the military is overstressed. I must say, because there are different theater of operations in different parts of the country, and you know clearly that look, the military is overstressed. But that's why it's also very important that we also, bring in the police, equip the police more, get them more motivated to be, a strategic partner in the fight against insurgency and insecurity in the country. If you understand what I'm saying, there shouldn't be a safe haven for any of these criminals. If they are being bombarded in the northwest, the southwest should not be a safe haven for them. In fact, what we are working towards and what we should work towards is a complete extermination of these criminals, from our country. So I think the information in itself will be more appropriate to tell the security operatives. I'm sure they know that. Maybe the governor was just pointing to the fact that look, everybody has to be vigilant because these guys are quietly, leaving those areas and coming to the south or the southwest to hide. But I'm sure the security operatives would have known that and will do everything possible to ensure that look, the fact that they are being chased in the other side does not give them the opportunity to come and hide in the southwest. It's a lot of work really for the Nigerian military. It's a big work really that they are having to deal with. Like I said, they are overstressed, but again, I'm sure that they are also the task. At least now that we're getting that, we're seeing that at least the senior officers are being given so big benefits. I think
this paper that reports culprit of Ibadan stampede must face trial. Makinde vows. I just want us to talk about that since we are on Oyo State, right? The Oyo State Governor Jᴏɪᴜ Makinde yesterday vowed a trial for suspects of the Christmas Funfair stampede at Islamic High School Basharon Ibadan. The incident claimed the lives of no fewer than 35 children, and the governor made the vow in his address at the 2025 yearly interfaith service for the state workers at the Secretariat Ibadan. So at that very same event, Fuad, where he had claims that the bandits are escaping to Oyo State, he also addressed the stampede. Very unfortunate stampede that happened in Ibadan. 35 lives, more of which were children. He's saying that all of the suspects will face the law. Now, of course, there have been reactions since that story dropped sometime yesterday. People are saying that this is selective punishment, and the governor is claiming that just because situations like this were not addressed in the past, it does not mean that we will turn a blind eye to this case. Now, some say that the charges, for example, is propped up, or what's the word, that rather than murder murder? Why not negligence or maybe even manslaughter? But then he is not the court of law. The court is the one that makes decisions on these particular matters that the general public are raising, especially regarding this issue. What do you think about all of these many notions that are coming up with this particular stampede?
Well, I'm beginning to get worried and troubled by the position of the governor for your state. With all due respect, Mr. Jᴏɪᴜ Aᴊɪ൐, on this matter. And it looks like he's already playing to the gallery. He also looks like a man who is not open. He's the organizers of the event.
Yes.
And, in their appearance in court before they were remanded at the Agodi prisons, the police have said that they will be waiting for the DPP in Oyo State to give them further briefings and instructions on whether to carry on with the trial or not. So the police, I will say, for the sake of public safety, public orderliness, did their job, right?
Yes.
Because again, it's not easy to have a situation where in one will ensure that public peace and orderliness is maintained. So I expect that the police did their job by arresting them in the first instance to ensure that, or even on the next steps to take. Now, on the recent comments of the Oyo State governor, he said, people have come to him, they've questioned why, these people are being held in prison, whereas almost the same thing almost at the same time happened in Anambra and Abuja, and nobody has been arrested, nobody has been kept in prison. Why is Oyo State different? And what he said is that, look, as far as he's concerned, Oyo is not Anambra, and so because the law or the rule of law was not followed in other places, Oyo State will follow the rule of law. And then he wants them to also say that no matter how highly placed the leaders are, they must be prosecuted. I know I'm quoting verbatim now, the way he was saying it. And then, if during the trial, the judges decide to give them bail, he doesn't have any issues against the bail. You can see that from the statement, it's as if there's something else in the matter beyond even respecting the rule of law. If you try to analyze the statement of the governor very well, and that's why people are already insinuating that is it that there is something to this issue more than what has really happened. Is it that there are people who are already waiting to scapegoat this individual? You don't understand what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
That I don't want to share with your company who were waiting for a day like this to punish them. Because look, we've had situations like this in the past. The first and normal thing that should happen is to have a coroner's inquest. I remembered when almost 100 people lost their lives at the Synagogue Church of all Nations, most of them foreign nationals. What did the Lagos State government do? The first thing is to set up a panel of inquiry that will now suggest for a coroner's inquest to find out what really happened and led to the loss of lives of those people. It is the coroner's inquest that will now say whether there are cases of murder, culpable negligence, and upon that the government can now make an informed decision on whether to prosecute or not. You don't understand what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
I attended the coroner's inquest of the deaths that happened at the Synagogue Church of all Nations. And so you ask yourself, what is the basis by which the government is already taking a position on this matter? If you understand what I'm saying. And so it's already looking untidy. It's already looking tacky. Nobody is saying that I'm a parent and I understand what it means to lose a child. It's unfortunate. It's not something that any parent wants to witness. But what we are saying is that look, we have to balance these things. Do you know that some of the stories we got was even that most of these deaths actually happened even before the event has started.
Yeah.
It was not as if they sold tickets. It was not as if it was like a lottery. These were people who were trying to help people. It was supposed to be a free thing to people who are desperately in need of help. As a result of even the failure of the government. Somebody has said that maybe they too were always sharing something and it never happened. I remember what Barrister Sağ said on political roundtable. The people in those stampedes that lost their lives were more desperate because they know that these ones may not be enough for them. The ones the politicians share in their houses without any particular stampede, they know that of course there's enough to share at that level. So what we are saying is that look, Mr. Governor should be a bit more open-minded about this issue. It's not about grandstanding, and I'm sorry, Mr. Governor cannot know it all on matters like this. If he needs some guidance, if he needs some advice on people who are more knowledgeable about things like this, why not? He should open himself to conversations like this. But again, luckily Mr. Hamzat is also a man that knows his right. And I'm sure the Queen also probably have gotten lawyers to help her out. But what we are saying is that, look, it's open-minded about this particular matter.
All right, thank you very much, Fahad. Let me just read the rest of the headlines that we have on the front page of the Punch. We have this story here. JAM generated 22.9 billion naira, remitted 6 billion naira to the federal government. This is according to the board. EFCC sacks 27 corrupt officers. Probe $400,000 fraud complaint is on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. I mean, the EFCC have been doing very well. I think that we should commend them for the work that they're doing, but there's definitely still more to be done. Now, for page 12, we have 33 ex-workers on a story. We heard it that there was mass retrenchment at the CBN, and the CBN did come out with a statement to debunk it that
was a voluntary retirement.
Yes, and also it was some sort of reorganization, human capital reorganization. So
before you go deeper into the story, can you believe the CBN that indeed 1,000 of their staff by themselves on their own terms resigned voluntarily?
That's what they said.
Is that 1,000 staff in an institution, an organization, who by themselves say they want to go on retirement?
That's
to the point where you are even ready to pay them about 15 billion naira in compensation.
Here's the thing, the compensation. Some of them said that they got as low as 5,000 naira, and there were people that were actually owing money.
Some of the CBN on contractor.
They said some of them, they were owing money. And so after the CBN had withdrawn all of their loans that they were in, blah, 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 they were left with as 5,000 naira. So there's not a lot of question, because if you say that these people left voluntarily, so why exactly are they being sued? So all the benefit that was promised to them, they now use this for the loan that they are owing. They now remove it from there. They now give them.
A man that is owing to the point where he knows that he might not be left with more than 5,000 naira. Would that kind of person retire voluntary?
Well,
because what we are talking about is that it wasn't as if they were due for retirement too. They just called them to the bank and said that, do you want to go now? I'll give you your benefit.
Give you money.
And you think 1,000 people in this country, where we know that even in public service, when people are due for retirement, they don't want to go. Because you see, anyways, now these people are taking them up in court, and I'm sure the court cases will reveal more about what really happened in this particular situation.
Very, very unfortunate. The matter is in court. They are seeking compensation as much as 30 billion naira. That's what they are asking for. Let's see what the court says about this. They believe that it's a breach of their fundamental human right, and also to
the issue now. There's always been a problem with the idea of the CBN moving some of its operations to Lagos, and then now that you are pushing over 1,000 people to go on mass retirement and all of that, I don't know really the kind of reorganization that the CBN wanted to do, to the point where 1,000 staff would live in one full swoop like that.
Well, that particular story you will find on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. We have OAGF indict NNPCL in 514 billion naira transaction is on page 22. Oh, we're running out of time. That's it for the Punch newspaper. Now for Guardian newspaper, this is still trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. We're almost out of time, but let's see how much stories we can squeeze into the time we have left. Guardian newspaper tells us top story: 3 million barrels per day target. 49.7 trillion naira budget rests on new foreign investment, FIDs, secure oil assets. That is what that story is all about. So Fouad, there are conversations around, first of all, the presidency of Trump and the influence that is going to have on oil prices on a global scale, our desire to ramp up oil production, the militarization of the Niger Delta, for example, amongst other things. They're highlighting the many obstacles that we might face when it comes to ramping up oil production in the country. 3 million barrels per day target forward. From everything we've seen and all the promises of refineries coming on board, is there a possibility of this? Are you confident that we have the capacity for this, even if we address oil theft among other things?
So that we are not accused of being a pessimist. We are being told now that we are already shooting 1.8 million barrels per day. And for 2025, we'll be shooting for like 2.2 million barrels. So if the target is 3 million, we can do it if we really want to do it, if we are committed to doing it. Why not? If a Saudi Arabia, for example, can do about 10 million barrels, 8 million barrels, but for the incoming president of the United States, Donald Trump, it's not going to be the oil sector or the Nigerian oil sector that will have a bumpy ride in these next 4 years. So many countries will face, it's going to be bumpy, it's going to be rough, it's going to be turbulent. Because, Donald Trump is going to challenge the status quo. He's already started. Look at Justin Trudeau. I think he reported that he has now resigned.
He resigned. It was in the news yesterday.
The Prime Minister of Canada. And everything is traced back to Donald Trump. So
he's asking for a merger now between the
Sorry?
He's asking for a merger between the United States and Canada following Justin.
No. It was just to ridicule Trudeau's administration. Because what he said basically is that, look, he was going to impose 100% tariff on products coming from Canada. And basically one of the reasons why the party of Trudeau is telling him to resign, so that a new leader can be elected, is because they feel it's not strong enough to stand toe-to-toe to Donald Trump. He had met to Donald Trump to discuss these tariff issues, trade and all of that. So he returned to Canada and issued a statement saying that, look, in his discussion with Trump, he had told him that, look, imposing 100% tariff on products from Canada would also hurt Americans. You understand? And that things will just become more expensive for Americans. And Donald Trump issued a statement to say, oh, that's Mr. Governor Trudeau. Because what he said is that, look, if Canada is threatened by what he's saying, they should come and become the 54th state of the United States. They can be a state in the U.S.
We'll talk about this on a global view. If you just permit me in a few seconds to go through the rest of the headlines that we have, right? For Guardian newspaper, we have here MDA's defense spending as National Assembly eyes January ending for budget approval. Culprits of Ibadan stampede must face trial. Local government court orders Okpebholo house to maintain status quo. Lassa fever, NCDC expert raise alarm, advocates prevention and early treatment. And 80 bandits killed in Katsina as hoodlums levy Zamfara communities. On the front page of the Vanguard, we have thousands face life-threatening ailment from lead poisoning. EFCC fires 27 officers over corruption. Court orders Okpebholo Edo Assembly to maintain status quo. I've received threat messages, says Peter Obi. APC chieftain, mother, child, 2 others shot dead in Ondo cult war. And just to inform you, there's currently a curfew in Ondo State because there are cult clashes happening in that state at this time. Let's go on this break forward. We'll bring you back at 8:44 Mainland Focus. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I'm Sage Babalola, and we'll be back